In this guide, we're going to be covering settlements. So assuming you've already built the House of Lords and you've taken on your first settlement, you're going to find real quick that basically that's the stomping ground for everybody. And you have to keep in mind that since it is no holds barred, some people are willing to spend a lot of money to grab a little bit of resources, especially if it's tied to a quest, whatever. So I'm going to show you how it looks if you go in a battle with somebody, and also give you some tips on how to claim a settlement and you keep it real cheap. So if someone's going to take it, there's really no way around that. But you still want to minimize your losses if somebody takes it, versus leaving a lot of defensive troops in there and then completely getting wiped out. Because regardless if you're a paid player or not, there are paid players that will completely swallow you whole. So just to show you a battle that I had earlier today, and it's a really good demonstration. So basically, the guy comes in to spy to see what I have there, and he sees I only have an archer. What you'll find most of the time is people are going to come in strong with whatever they're doing, basically to show that they're powerful and they're trying to scare you, that kind of thing. So don't let it deter you, because the majority of the time they don't leave those troops in there. So in this case, they did a spy mission, so they wanted to say, hey, I have all kinds of resources, and he also wanted to show that he's a paid player. So there's some additional stuff in there. As soon as you see that it's a paid player, use caution, because you don't know how stupid they are and how much money they're willing to spend, which you're about to see, because I ended up costing the guy over $50. So after he spied, he took me over. And again, he shows that he's a paid player with dragons and legendary. And since this is the new server, I know that there's no way that he's able to build those things yet. So after he takes me over, then I raid him back. Then to show that he's strong, he raids me back, also showing some more stuff that he's paid, with Undead Dragon and Renegade and that kind of stuff, and some more legendary units. So, looking through the list, it's kind of impressive, and it can be a little scary, especially if you're not used to how settlements go, or when you're up against a paid player. So I went ahead and came back in kind of strong, but not very. But it would have been enough to at least put a hurting on him if he was dumb enough to leave all those troops in there. But he only left the Griffin, so I didn't take any loss. So he hits me again with the legendaries and some bestiary. And this is where a lot of times people will mess up, because you can see that up until this point, the only things that I have lost has been a couple archers and a wrath. No big deal. Basically, you can recover that in a few minutes. But since he didn't pull his troops out quick enough, this is where I cost him $50. So the legendaries, those are about 2,000 sapphires apiece, and then those dragons, they're, I think, 177 or 166. Anyway, that's 12,000 sapphires right there. So let's just say that the Wyverns came from a quest or battleground, whatever. Still, that's about 20,000 sapphires just in that one hit right there. So even with the current discount, a lot of people are jumping on the 18,000 sapphires for $50. That's still above and beyond that a little bit. So whenever someone takes a hit like that, then that's when you definitely need to use caution, because they're going to be getting reckless at that point. So, and if they've taken a hit like that, they want to make sure that you do too. So that's usually the time that it's a good idea to pull out, but I decided to keep it going a little bit. So he comes back in, and he ended up buying some legendary units back. So I hit him again, knowing that he's definitely not going to be dumb enough to leave them all in there again. And then when he comes back, he leaves his defensive stuff in there. And at that time, I went ahead and left him alone, because since he's already taken that big of a hit, he's probably going to leave a lot of that stuff in there. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the process that I do when I'm going to take on a settlement. So this is the pit that I'm at, so I'm going to hit it directly. But as far as distance wise, regardless if you upgrade the tower or not, you still want to stay on the first page. And the main reason is because if you're going to spy or send an attack, you're always going to get there in a minute. As soon as you get 3, 4, 5 minutes out, then someone else can come in and do a lot of damage before you even have time to either get there or send reinforcements, whatever. So always stay on the first page, and if you can get one of the first 3 or 4 settlements, that's always the best idea. As soon as you go above 2 minutes, then you're not going to have enough warning in case something happens, like if someone spies or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and send an attack in. And I'm not going to spy first, just so he doesn't have any warning. I'm just going to send enough where I know that it's going to overtake whatever he probably has in there. But even though I'm going to be holding it with an archer, I'm not going to send one in yet. Mainly because as soon as you send one of the lower troops, people know that you're hitting big, and then you're going to pull all of them out but the small one. You want to just hit with the big stuff, and then you send the small ones in later. So once you upgrade the tower, then you can have 2 settlements at the same time. Even though I only keep 1 settlement at a time, the reason I like having the ability to capture 2 is you can actually send out 2 attacks at the same time. So I could send out 1 attack, and then seconds later you send out just an archer or something like that. So basically I'm going to have 1 attack hit with just the big, and then 1 with a wrath or whatever I'm going to hold it with. And then as soon as the first hit takes place, as soon as I see the small one, then I can pull all the first one out. That way it's not in jeopardy. The way that I'm going to be showing you right now, it's going to be in jeopardy for about a minute. So, or at least all but 1, but you'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and send out a siege. And that's another good thing about keeping it local. You're only going to be waiting a minute at a time. So when you hit the Eagle's Nest and go to settlements, so I'm actually hitting the 4th one. So I wouldn't go to the 2nd page, 3rd page, whatever, unless there's a quest or something that you're really needing, whatever. But since the only thing that's on here is the gold and the iron, people usually hit gold before anything else. So anyway, with the iron, since that's the only one on the front page, that's the one that I went for. So you need to keep in mind when everything's going to hit, so that way you can go into your fief, click on settlements, wait for it to show up, As soon as it hits, hit recall all, and then you're going to recall all but one. As soon as you hit recall, send reinforcements, put an archer or a wrath, whatever. Since I don't have all 50 wraths built up yet, I'm just doing everything with archers. That way it stays cheap. So basically I'm going to keep that page open and not do anything else until I reclaim that warlock. So one of the things about being a minute away is that person just now got a notification that I took over his siege. If he was staying on it, and as soon as he saw that I took it, he was coming to retaliate, by the time he sees the notification and then sends something to retaliate, I'm already going to have all my big troops out of there. The only risk is if somebody else would come into attack during that minute. It usually don't happen, so it's usually safe to keep the bigger unit in there, but there are times. So it's always a good idea to have some sapphires laying around, whatever, just in case you need to grab it back. So I'm going to go ahead and reclaim that, and now the only thing in there is the archer. But as far as the notification that the person got that I took it back from, he only sees that I sent the big troops. So if you see a big hit coming in and then you go to hit them back and they only have a wrath or something small, that's usually how they do it. Or just like the idiot from before, he didn't know to do that, and you left a griffin in there. So you can do it either way. But now that I have that claimed, then it's basically a matter of just waiting for notifications. And since everything with settlements is so volatile, you want to make sure to keep an eye on it, and every hour on the hour make sure to check it back. So it was the same thing with that one person. That was different than the one that I took it from before, but the only thing that they left in there was a paladin. So, but as I mentioned, all they see are the larger troops. They're not going to see any of the smaller things. So one thing that you might want to do is go ahead and send out some defense too, but unless you've spied on it or have an idea of what's in there, then it's usually best to only send out the offense, so that way you don't have to worry about losing anything, or at least as much. But that's also the safest way for whenever the PMP stuff comes into play. If you go ahead and send out a raid, if you do lose a little bit, it's not going to hurt as much, just because you're going to be getting PMP points, and then hopefully get some additional troops and soulstones. But as far as going straight after whatever's in this quest, it's definitely not worth it. I showed it in another video. I lost almost a million in offense just to clear out the third one. So definitely not worth doing straight up. But if you end up coming against somebody or whatever, then it can definitely pay off. So when I took out the stuff earlier, that's how I got the 100 points here. So an extra bonus. So there's some areas in the game you just have to know what to play and what to stay away from. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of guidance anyway on the Eagle's Nest and settlements. Till next time, take care.